Welcome to Flex Your Feelings, the mental health and wellness podcast with myself, Sam Bell, and my ever smiley co-host, James Penning.
Hello.
Oh, yeah.
I'm good. I'm really good. Yeah.
If you are watching this and you think, have they not got different sets of clothes on? We've done 2 episodes today. This is the second episode.
This is the world of podcasting.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think
maybe we should do wardrobe change.
Yeah. I was like, should I bring a different top?
No.
This is just how it goes. We've got schedules that we need to consider.
Exactly. And the way that we've broken this subject into 2 episodes because it is about basically interviewing one another. Yeah. So you've interviewed me. I'm about to interview you.
I know. I'm excited.
Fucking pressure's on, boy.
Bring it on. I'm as cool as a cucumber.
That's why I wanted you to go first. I was like, how deep's he going to go? And now I'm like, right, I'm going to dive in.
Do you want to tell our lovely listeners about what sort of the
so the title
sentiment?
Yeah, so it's the subject is human first, profession second. In your case, human first, therapist second, right? Because people may think that as a therapist, I'll tell you what, what kind of therapist are you as a professional? Because there's loads of
I see. Like what my theoretical.
Don't say I'm a good one.
No. Well, yes.
But
my theoretical underpinning, is that what you're asking me?
So in my understanding is that if I wanted to have a certain type of therapy, I would go to a therapist that specialises in that kind of therapy, whether it be CBT. Is it CBT?
It is.
Which I've got an opinion on that. We can have a chat about that. But my therapist was big on psychodynamic, where you do the timeline and go backwards and all that sort of stuff, and that really worked for me. So is there a therapy that you specialise in, I guess?
Yeah, every therapist undergoes a core training, and that training will have an underpinning theory that therapist, that individual doesn't necessarily have to stick to, but we have to learn the theory to basically know what we're doing.
Yeah, of course.
The framework. And my theoretical approach is called integrative, which is basically a theory where we draw from other theories and we travel between those theories depending on the individual and the conversation that we're having.
So you adapt.
So it's not just we're eclectically going, oh, we'll do this today.
Yeah.
It sits within its own framework. So someone else has done the research and drawn from various different main theoretical approaches, like psychodynamic, like CBT. Another one would be person-centered, if you've ever heard of that before.
I haven't, no.
But basically, we draw from all of those different theories and we put it within its own framework so we know where we are. So we're not just randomly going from theory to theory. But basically, we draw from some of the main key concepts from all those theories, put them all together, and then we adapt, as you say, depending on who's sat in front of us. Cool. And we can move from different theories in one session. I wouldn't say the client necessarily knows that.
Yeah.
But we do.
Yeah.
Or we can travel between those different theories from session to session. Sometimes we might stay for a longer period of time in one area, and then we might draw on from another area depending on what's being talked about in the room. Okay. So a very long-winded answer to basically say we draw from some well-established theoretical concepts and we tailor it to our client's needs.
Nice. Yeah. Well,
intricative.
Not one size fits all, right?
Basically there's
with a lot of things.
Individuals sat in front of us. So.
Yeah. No, nice. Human first.
Human first.
I just call your list.
It's not something.
Also, do you know what I do?
This is something I've been blessed with.
Yeah.
How don't you dare? I have cherished my lispy.
No, what I was going to say, does it
oral diversity ways?
Does it aid in anything? You know, bit of extra spit in there.
You heathen. I'm talking about the spoken word.
Yeah. The what? Anyway, right. Human first, therapist second. So you've just said about what, the therapist who you are.
Or how I've trained.
Yeah. But it's not who you are.
No.
It is not your identity.
No.
So let's talk about that human first.
Mm-hmm.
Give me James Penning, the human.
Okay. Hi, it's nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. What would you like to know?
So, okay, we have discussed in the past about you being a therapist, me being a coach, and the potential misconception that people think, oh, I'm going to go see this guy. His life must be perfect. He must have his shit together. Talk to me about that.
That's not true. To put it simply, yeah, done. See you next time. No, of course not. Of course, it's not true.
Why do you think people think that?
It's a very interesting question. I think probably because of the position of power, air quotes, that we're in, that people are coming to us for help, and often in their darkest hours, sometimes they look at coaches and therapists as sort of gurus or sages, and
Hope.
It's hope, and that they need someone to look up to be inspired by, to guide them. I don't think they're necessarily that really interested in whether or not we've gone through anything in particular, because they're not being disrespectful, but they're very much in their own stuff.
As majority of people are, right?
Of course, we want help. We want help. Help me, I'm suffering. I don't know how to do this. My relationship's not working, etc. So some of clients, whether it's coaching clients or therapy clients, might not even consider if their coach or therapist has been through a tough time. However, perhaps when things have calmed down or the relationship's been established, I think it then emerges that your therapist or coach is human.
Yeah.
And that actually having their shit together all of the time is a myth. Yeah. And that's simply not the case. So if I speak for myself, of course, I haven't always had my shit together, nor will I always have my shit together. And I try not to ever give the illusion that I've always got my shit together. But there's a time and a place whether to make it about me.
Yeah.
Today, we're talking about this because it's healthy for people that are in helping professions to role model their own humility and humanity. And so, yeah, I often don't have my shit together.
Yeah.
And we can talk about what I do to help myself with that. But no, I've emotionally turbulent in my life for as far back as I can remember.
Well, let's do that. Let's go back.
Okay.
Like
how far back? What, like little child?
However far you feel comfortable going back.
I would describe, and I'm trying to be honest with myself and with others as possible. I was and am a very sensitive person.
Okay.
So I feel things and I wear my feelings very obviously.
Is it like a heart and sleeve kind of?
I would say so. I've never really been able to, and this is no judgment on people that do, but I've never really been able to compartmentalize anything.
Okay.
I am feeling.
For anyone that doesn't know what that means, what does that mean?
I can't necessarily put it away and just get on with things. If there's something wrong, you see it all over my face. And that
explains a lot when I've seen some of the looks you've given me.
I can't hide it.
Okay.
So I'm very energetic, as you might have picked up on.
Yeah, that's why we're friends, mate.
Tigger-like energy. And that, when it's used to a force of good, is wonderful. I wouldn't change that. But actually, there's a shadow side to that, as there are in most things in life. And I've struggled a lot with my emotions. I would say that I feel things very deeply, very strongly, and often that has been quite destructive. And in my life, there have been periods where I've been immensely sad and lonely and felt that I was so different from everybody else that it was, nobody could possibly understand. So there were lots of wonderful bits to my childhood as well, of course, but I would say that if I was just talking about what helped me grow, primarily it was like, yeah, wow, I don't think I was emotionally I wasn't very connected to people around me because of what my parents in particular were going through and who they are. So much love and respect to them both. But I spent a lot of my childhood and teenage years feeling massively misunderstood and very sad because I am a talker. I connect. I'm high energy. I want to have fun with people. I like to make people laugh. But the environment I grew up in was very stern.
Did you recognize that you were that person and that your family weren't?
Oh, it was like I thought, why am I who are these people?
Did you find yourself wanting to talk then, but there was no one to talk to?
It was almost like I would express this unedited, high energy version, and it was always shut down.
Okay.
So the mantras that I kind of learned to, or I took on, and this again is no disrespect to my parents, but were along the lines of, shh, be quiet, stop that, why are you being silly, don't be so loud, for heaven's sake, what are you doing, stop that.
Completely discrediting your emotions.
And when I would show emotion, the only real sort of, I would say, after my toddler years, I would say this is my memory of it, that after I was sort of late primary school, perhaps, it was less sympathy and emotional, like, oh, come here, sweetheart. You know, I was very cuddly, tactile. All I wanted was cuddles, and, you know, I just wanted to feel and be loved. That it was a bit more, I felt this distance. We don't, there was like a cut-off to that. So when I was a young person, it was like young toddler, I remember being very much looked after, cuddled, etc. But it was almost like this invisible change that happened at the end of primary school, where everyone just stopped showing that softness, and it became very
almost like you've hit an age where you don't need that anymore.
Yeah, it was sort of, no, we don't do that anymore.
Okay.
That's not what we do in this house. We don't have fun. We don't laugh. We don't smile.
Do you think that was because of maybe your parents' situations?
Oh,
relationship change, so it had a knock-on effect?
I know reasons, which I won't divulge, as to why my parents were the way they were. But in terms of role modelling what that had, or how that had an impact on me, I just felt like I was in a house that was so stifled and repressed. And it was like all of this energy. It was like, why aren't people talking? Why aren't people laughing? Why aren't we being silly?
Yeah.
And so I learned over time to withdraw and retreat, and my own world then became very sad. I used to remember, that doesn't make sense. I remember how I used to walk around with headphones in the days where you had to carry your CD player, and before shock absorber were the thing, it was
skipping all the
I had to
time.
keep it so still, walking around. But I'd always put sad music on, and I'd always cry. So I'd walk around area where we lived, and I'd go and sit by the river. We grew up in a very pretty place, and I just used to cry. And at any opportunity, I would be absorbed by other families' high energy. So there was one family in particular where I was growing up that was an open house. The mum was like, "Come in," and all that was the fun house.
Yeah.
My house was everyone's quite serious in my house. Fun is a limited, finite amount of time, and then we take someone home and we don't have fun anymore. And it was me and my sister weren't really encouraged to share time with each other past a certain age. It was a lot of everyone was separate.
Okay.
Children upstairs, parents were downstairs. We didn't commune in the living room and watch TV very much. During the week, it was Dad got home from work late. We'd had our tea or dinner or whatever, and then we were up in our rooms. There was no noise really allowed in our house.
Okay.
We had to be quiet all the time. If there was any noise, we'd get told off.
Right.
And you can imagine trying to cage my energy.
Yeah, I mean...
And I have to take full responsibility for it now.
Like, cannot imagine it.
Does that make sense what I'm saying? I felt very sad for a lot of my childhood.
Yeah, it makes complete sense what you're saying. Do you think, we'll talk a little bit more about then later years, like teens and stuff like that, how maybe that develops. But do you think that even as far back as that had an impact on why you do what you do in your professional life now?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt. It wasn't always very clear in the teenage years and beyond, till my mid-20s that I started to explore the idea of wanting to be a counsellor or therapist, whichever word you want to use. But I'd always felt that I loved chatting to people. Like when I was a kid, and when I say kid, I'm not necessarily meaning toddler anymore. I'm talking about sort of, 12 to 18 or whatever. I haven't thought about this for ages. I used to go around to other parents' houses, regardless of if my friends were in, and just have a cup of tea with their mum.
Yeah.
and I'd chat. I'd go around because my mum was busy running the home and my dad was working or sailing and or down the pub. No disrespect. It's just a sign of the times.
That's a generation thing, wasn't
exactly. So my sister was creative and she could look after herself. She'd be doing things like I'd just be like, I'm bored.
it?
Entertain me.
Yeah.
La 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 la. Notice me, notice me. My sister was like, she'd draw, she'd build things, she'd collage, and I'd just be like, bored. So I used to go around chatting to people, and then I'd have this route around where I used to live, where I'd go and chat to mums or dads, pretty much indiscriminately. Not all dads, because some dads are scary, but
Definitely back then.
I'd go and chat. Like one family, I'd chat to the mum and the dad equally, depending on who was out, because those are the days where they're tinkering in their garage or the doors were open.
Yeah.
And I'd just go, hiya.
Yeah.
Or someone would be saying, is my friend in? Oh no, he's not at the moment. Oh, come and have a cup of tea.
Do you know what I've got, right? I've got this image of this route, and all the parents know each other. Yeah. And they've gone, James has been, he'll be with you. He'll be with you. Well, I say texting. Texting when I think they get the cord.
They got the cord on the landline.
And I go, James has just left, so
finished with him. He's very chatty today. If you don't want him to come in, shut his front door.
Yeah.
And I know I might be embellishing or romanticising some of this, but I do remember very distinctly, and it wouldn't just stop at friends' parents. I'd go down to the village where I grew up and ended up, just not a stereotype at all, but ended up befriending all of the hairdressers in the local hairdressers.
Yeah,
that made sense, right?
Yeah, hairdresser does work in the
hairdressers live. So I would chat for hours, and I ended up kind of like just sort of wanting to help. I'd be like, "Oh, I'll sweep the hair up."
Yeah.
Got to know the clients, got to know the hairdressers, and it was the same for some of the women that worked in the little beauty parlor thing that was in the village. I wanted to talk to people, as you could probably.
So you could have been in a very different profession.
It was the connections, though.
Yeah,
I craved them, and sadly, and I know why. And again, I love my parents, but I didn't get that at home, and it felt odd to me. I was like, I don't understand why I don't have this in my house. So it made me sad. I looked for it elsewhere. I got it elsewhere, but nothing quite makes up for not getting it at home.
No.
So I then became very angry as a teenager. I was very verbally abusive. I used to call my mum very nasty things daily. My dad, I was a little bit more scared of.
Well, he backhand you back then, wasn't he?
Well, he had a booming voice, and he felt like a fucking giant when you're younger. And they weren't real smackers, really, but I was raised in the 80s and 90s, so it was probably still
I love how you threw both of them in there, so you're not that old. But tactical.
I then got angry.
Yeah.
And all of that sadness, I turned into anger. And it was puberty, obviously, has played a part. I was happy at school, even though there was the odd comment. I mean, blah, 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 you're gay or you're a puff, whatever. There's stuff going on.
Puff, I haven't had that one for so long.
But that school was actually relatively okay. I had a good social group, and there was a bit of teasing, a bit of name calling, but it wasn't hardcore. I didn't go home crying about it or didn't want to not go into school. All of the anger I'd seemed to hold on to, though, was towards my parents. My mum would get it primarily. My sister would also get it. And I would just project my sadness out onto them. And I was a very difficult teenager. I wasn't out drinking or doing drugs, but I'd steal from them and I would shout at them regularly, slam doors. I mean, F and Jeff, all that. And it was
how you know he's born in the 80s. It says F and Jeff.
I'd tell my mum to get out of my fucking room.
Yeah.
Fuck off, you bitch. I would be angry.
Yeah.
That went on for my entire teenage years. So that it was a turbulent environment in my house, and I was seen as the black sheep, the difficult one, the problem child. James has got anger problems.
Yeah.
James, and it was all right in school. I chat a lot. No surprise. But I was seen as somebody that, what's wrong with you? Why are you so angry? No one ever asked me. They'd always try and tell me what to do. Stop doing this. It was always very much a punitive thing.
Yeah.
We'll punish you for being angry. We won't ask you why you're angry.
Yeah.
And then I'd basically that just rinse and repeat for the entirety of my teenage years.
So did you find yourself you mentioned that you got kind of what you were craving from other people's parents in terms of like school life. So let's talk about like secondary school. So what's that like 12 to 6, 12 to 16, 11 to 16?
Yeah.
Did you find yourself being who you wanted to be in school and maybe getting it back? So that's
I
who
loved,
you loved
I loved my teachers. I was one of those. I would stay behind in school.
Oh, you didn't help carry the books out.
No, I was a librarian. We won't talk.
Were you
about
a prefect?
That. Yeah.
Oh, fucking
no! And see, look, like remember in the episode?
I'm not being judgmental.
You're the version you were talking about last episode. We would have clashed. I would have probably been somewhere in the nerdy sort of not cool group, and you might have been leading perhaps some of.
You calling me a bully?
No. What I'm saying,
I probably was.
We fit those kind of archetypes in school, for rightly or wrongly. But no,
I was captain of the football.
Football? No, I was the cleanest guy off the rugby pitch. They chuck me the ball, I just look at it.
I'm going to
no, none of that. I just watch it drop.
Yeah.
They'd lob it at me. I'd be like, I'm not picking that up. It's got mud on it. Mum would be like, "Have you had pee today?" Yeah.
Oh, I've watched a kid.
Wasn't it rugby? Yeah. Just stood there. It was wonderful. However, yeah, I loved my teachers, not all, some, because it was attention. So it was noticing me. I'd chat, but because I'd ask them about them. It wasn't just me one way.
Yeah.
I'd be like, "How are you, miss? You all right? That was a good lesson," or and I'd have like with a couple of teachers, I'd walk in when they were just marking, going, "You all right? Hi, James."
Do you think like so I'm having like a Matilda moment, Miss Honey, Matilda?
Oh, I love Miss Honey.
Yeah.
I'd have happily been taken on by any of those teachers.
But that's what I was going to say. Do you think that they recognised, maybe not because maybe they weren't.
I was lonely.
Do you think they recognised that, so they saw that, so they talked to you? Yeah.
I mean, they did.
I'm not saying it was a sympathy thing. That's why they talked to you, because obviously you're very interested, and I imagine you were very interested back then. But yeah, do you think they were like, this is
like many others?
It's not normal behaviour for a kid that age to do that, right?
And I'm aware that, again, I don't often feel that we're the most accurate storytellers, not out of anything sinister, but we tend to
it's your own narrative,
create the narrative, and it changes over time. But I remember, as much as I'm trying to be clear and authentic, that I would go around to the classrooms of certain teachers, and it would be this nice little chat.
Yeah.
And my mum would be like, "You staying behind to do your homework?" I wouldn't do any fucking homework. Just chat.
That's a fucking homework's bullshit anyway.
But I just chat. And because I didn't get that home, I was lonely. I was looking for someone to be. In my head, I kept thinking, why aren't people just being themselves? It was like, I'm chatty and kind and empathetic. Why I looked for that in other people, and it was intoxicating when I got it. I think that's what then led to more damage in my 20s and 30s, because it came from others. I hadn't yet developed a good relationship with myself, and when people gave me attention and validation, it wasn't always received as a force for good. It sometimes went then to a very dark place. Post secondary school, I made good friends. I went to college. I made friends. I didn't have a problem making friends. But there was the whole coming out thing going on, which was okay, really. But it was really when I started to have relationships for the first time that I noticed what I'd put away, repressed, suppressed, whatever. And that's when I would say most of my main challenges, bar when my dad died, that was obviously grief in a different way. Most of my main demons have been around intimate relationships.
And had you seen a therapist before this?
Once when I was 16.
As in literally one.
No, sorry, I had like 6 sessions at the local doctor's surgery when I was 16.
Okay.
Or something.
What was it like back then compared to what you think it is now? Obviously, you're in that space now.
Yeah.
If you imagine,
I think probably that's what
that doctor talking to you now.
Well, he was a counsellor, John, and
hello,
John, and actually, funnily enough, one of the organisations I'm a part of now, he's a part of, and I've seen him.
Oh wow, okay.
However many years, 20 years on. Anyway, that really helped. I remember the first one, not the only thing, but in my mind, is the standout thing he said to me was, "Why do you care so much about what your mum thinks?" Because that's what came out in the 6 sessions. then I moved away. Then I moved from my home to Wales when I was 19. Before that, I was drinking a lot, partying a lot, holding down a job somehow, and wasn't very confident, really low self-worth and self-esteem. And then I moved to Wales, left home, not on very good terms. I remember.
So you left. Your family didn't move to Wales, like as in
No,
you,
I
as a
left
19-year-old
home,
man.
and I left home.
Fuck this, I'm out.
Went to move in with a friend and her family, which, by the way, was the antithesis of my family, the complete opposite. They were
I'm glad you clarified what that meant, 'cause I was about to ask.
They were welcoming. They just took me in under their wing. I've always been scooped up by other families, which goes back to what I was like as a teenager. My friend's mum in Wales and dad and brother, I just became part of their family.
Yeah.
I was there for over a year, and then I stayed in Wales for 10 years. But going back a little bit, just to make the point, before I moved to Wales, I had my first boyfriend. That was carnage.
Okay.
For me, emotionally, it was an emotional car crash because of all of the stuff I'd been building up over the years. I was basically, if you want to put it in theoretical terms, a highly anxious attachment style individual, very angry, very jealous, wanted closeness, but then if I didn't get it, would panic and fret, and then I'd push back and I'd be argumentative, all of that
A bit
stuff.
of the sabotage sort of stuff.
And then actually there were pockets of joy in there too. It's first love, and like it was wonderful in many ways, but I did not treat that individual very well. Not necessarily, I've forgiven myself, but I was in a very toxic place in my world then, and he had a very connected family and I didn't. So I resented that, not because it was personal, but because I thought, I don't like that you've got and what I want.
Why have you got that and I never had it?
And then when we would have arguments, I'd be completely consumed with the fear of rejection. I'd then feel like it was a visceral experience, like every fibre of my being. If we had an argument, I couldn't settle, I couldn't focus on anything else. I would be preoccupied, I'd be crying, I'd be, just completely and utterly distressed by the situation. And then some parts I made work, other parts eventually led to us splitting up. But I'd said some very unkind things. My defense mechanism was to be viper tongued.
I was going to say, like,
I would say the worst.
I'm not a therapist, but there's a theme. Obviously, the mum, and now this.
I'd say the worst thing.
Had that happened in friendships as well in the past?
Not in friendships.
Okay.
Sometimes it would sneak out. I'd get very stressed if they laughed at me. I'd kind of have a bit of rage.
And I want to see Angry James.
I remember sort of getting a bit like they kind of, as kids do, they kind of wind me up, and then if I blew, it'd be like I'd get really stressed.
Did they know? Did they know that you had?
Sometimes, but they were great people. They weren't doing it on purpose, but occasionally they'd be like, James can't play football, and I'd get so angry at myself.
Which is funny because you're pretty good with balls.
Well, yes, perhaps, maybe.
Not that I know, but I was
going to say, who have you been talking to?
I imagine.
I was viper tongued, so in my relationships, I would say the nastiest thing as a form of defense.
Yeah.
And then, but underneath the surface, I'd be fretting. I'd be flip-flopping between, you're the worst person in the world, please don't abandon me. You're the worst person in the world, I hate you, please give me a cuddle. Complete flip-flop between those things. And it was a turbulent, emotional, draining time. And I would pine for people's validation.
But what you just said there is that you said that you were viper tongue as a defense mechanism.
Yes.
Back then, presumably, you didn't know it was a defense mechanism. It was just
it was just how I reacted.
How you reacted. And when was it? You said that you did therapy when you were 16, or you saw a counsellor.
Mm-hmm.
When was the next stage in which you did it? Because presumably that's when you learn about why you react, why you act.
It was a big gap. I didn't have therapy then until I'd moved back to Southampton. So I was in Wales 10 years, met my ex.
You're going to work out how old he is now.
I'm 41.
It's about this time. You're not saying.
I'm not sure. 41. And so.
Looks fantastic for it.
Oh, thanks, love.
Definitely look younger.
I moved back to Southampton because I'd fallen in love. So I'd had a 10-year, first relationship was whilst in Southampton, met my second love when I was in Wales. Then we had a long distance.
What was the sheep's name?
Can't believe you went there.
Oh, it
You
was so-
sad
I
man.
didn't even know you moved to Wales. So yeah, I was like, oh,
So I had a couple of loves, but anyway,
very poor joke to stereotype.
10 years on, met someone who ended up was my longest relationship, moved back to Southampton. Then, because that relationship, I was repeating exactly the same patterns, I went to therapy again.
So you caught it, and you were the one.
Well, I think it was a case of my ex at the time was like, what have I gotten myself into? He actually,
I've done well.
he's shared with me many times because we're still friends 10 years on.
Oh, that's lovely.
That he was like, we were moving you down from Wales to Southampton, and I was sat in your flat and I was stressing, trying to figure how to get all of my stuff into the car. And he said to me, I thought, what the fuck have I done?
Really?
Yeah. Because I was high anxiety, high stress, high emotion. And so, yeah, but I started therapy when I'd moved back down to Southampton because I think I'd gotten really sad again. And I thought, why is this? So then that was the start of my therapeutic journey that hasn't ended. So I've probably been in therapy on and off with no gap longer than about a year for about 12, 13 years.
Nice. So what you just said there is about, you said like you were highly stressed, highly this, highly that.
Anxious attachment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you are a very high energy person. Part of the reason that we work so well together, I believe, because we're on a level that sometimes people go, fucking hell, how are these two people? Like when
whoa.
Yeah, and it is what it is. But
my therapist once said I was like a tornado coming into a room.
Yeah, I can see.
But it can be great if you're in a good place, but not so great if you're not.
So that's what I was going to say. Like, you've got these high. The version that I see sat before me now is that you are this high energy, this highly emotionally intelligent person. I would still say you're a sensitive person.
Oh, absolutely.
But now it's been. If people just say, "Oh, he's a sensitive person," back then it was almost a negative. It was a negative thing, right? Whereas for me personally now, if I was to say, "Oh yeah, I think I'm quite a sensitive person," like, oh okay, my mind goes, so he's in touch with his emotions. He's emotionally intelligent. He can react, and sensitive is still seen as, like, if they say it, and it can be used as a derogatory term. Like,
I think so. Yeah.
God, like a bit sensitive.
Yeah. Oversensitive, too much.
Yeah. Like, yeah, too much is like, yeah, fuck off, mate. But so do you think that those things that happened, or the way in which situations were back then, they happened for you? Because you've got this high energy now where you were highly anxious, you were highly stressed, but now you recognise that was just a state of mind, and now you use that now as the human that you are.
Yeah.
It aided you in becoming James Penny in 2025.
Yeah. Oh no, completely. But the therapy journey was hugely integral to that.
Do you think that's had the biggest
I was
impact on who you are
reparented
now?
by all my therapists.
Okay.
I say all. I had 3, actually. One that I'm still currently working with that's got me through one of the hardest breakups I've had, and beyond, to working together now, really just because I think it's like going to the gym for me. Go to see my therapist, keep myself on a good path, work shit out whenever it comes up. But yeah, if I didn't have therapy, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I truly believe that because the unconditional love, I will call it, that my therapist gave me, they reparented me, I reparented me, I then started to love me, and now when we talk about having a shit together, I've all of the things I have in place to keep myself healthy. I don't always do them. Like sometimes,
we spoke about it.
Yeah. I still have a tendency to comfort eat. So if I'm feeling tired or low, I have certain foods, and it's pretty much the same every time. Any of my friends listening to this will know exactly what they are. Yeah, jam tarts might feature. Primarily though, it's crisps, plastic cheese like those Leerdam slices, and pepperonis.
I love it.
No idea why, but and dip for the crisps.
Yeah, obviously.
But I know that even now, I've got to take care of that part of me, because I will sabotage by using food.
Okay.
And if we've done self-development work and you've done healing work, sometimes you can get a little bit obsessed with being perfect. But actually, sometimes I will let some of those healthy habits go. But it's how much. And do I stay then eating that for the next 2 years? Or do I go, okay, you're grown up, you had that stuff. Or if I drank a bit too much or whatever. It's having your shit together is knowing yourself.
Yeah.
And I now know where my stuff is. I know where my pain lies, and a lot of it's healed, but I know where my vulnerable bits are. I know where not just they're not for you. Okay, if anyone touches you there, tell an appropriate adult.
This is a teddy bear. Show me where they touched you.
It was I think that I'm trying to be honest with myself. Sometimes I lie to myself. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, you have this, you deserve it. Have those crisps. Sit and watch TV, shove all the food in your gob, and then think you'll go to the gym tomorrow. Be that guy. But then actually, then another part of me goes, hang on a second. You know how eating healthy feels, etc. You know how playing tennis is a happy place for you. You know that when you feel energized, you're happier. You know when you go for your long walks in the morning, you're really centered and grounded. But yeah.
Is that you almost therapizing yourself?
I do.
I was going to say, because this episode is human first
and
therapist second, and that is a prime example. Like the human behavior that you're doing, but that you've caught it, and is it almost like you're like, right, let's switch on therapy?
I can't know it now. Even on the times more recent months, I would say, where again, human first, therapist second, I've made the same mistakes.
Yeah,
I'm like, oops, done it again. Not to quote Britney, but I was like, that's still playing out. I was like, oh, I thought I'd done with that.
Okay, can I ask you a question? Like the word you just used was mistake, and it's like, or is it a continuous choice? Do you believe in that? What do you think about that? Like, is a mistake once, or can you make multiple mistakes?
I mean, it maybe depends on the language you use, but I think that I chose the learned behaviour over the healthy behaviour. So I'm making a choice.
Yeah,
I am making a choice. I choose to eat the shit food over the healthy food.
I mean, it tastes great sometimes.
I choose to put other people's needs before myself. I choose to let out the somewhat angry comment rather than stay quiet and silent. And
so have you still got a little bit of that?
I feel it in my body. I feel it in my stomach first.
Yeah.
I know the word trigger is somewhat a bit of a bugbear for me, not because I get why people use it, but look, whenever we have feelings, we have feelings.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm triggered. No, you're just having feelings.
Yeah.
There could be degrees of the strength of those feelings, and maybe in trauma there's a place for that terminology. But in my world, it's like, oh, I'm feeling big feelings. Like, boom. If somebody shushes me, but more like a partner.
Yeah.
If they shut me down straight away in my belly, I'm like, the fire's revving. And I will be...
Let's stick some coal on that bad boy.
And I will rise up. Well, I don't now, really. Don't get me wrong. I'll fall into those unconscious patterns or those learned behaviours. I make a choice, by the way, because there is a gap between what's happening in the moment and what you choose to do. But with my most recent relationship, I didn't always act in a kind way. Sometimes I'd be like, just absolutely, I'd project. But I definitely wasn't as cruel. I definitely wasn't as viper-tongued. I've grown, healed. But I don't think you ever take away those inbuilt responses that come as a result of feeling something over a long period of time. You just know how to deal with them.
Yeah, because it's human nature. And
I know exactly what somebody could say to me to hurt my feelings. If I'm told to be quiet, if I'm ignored, shut down, or ridiculed, I know that has the potential to hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
Now, I deal with those hurt feelings and I have a responsibility to show up for them, but I know I'm not immune.
Yeah, because clearly, James at 16, the words in which he used, and James at 40, the growth is there. You know that, and anyone that's probably spent any length of time, you've got friends in your life that have been there since then.
From
they would
primary
have been,
school, first day of,
exactly. But the point is you are human.
Yeah.
So you still have those wounds, those feelings, you still have the ability to react that way, but
it's almost like you catch it.
You do catch it.
It's like
yeah.
someone chucks you a ball, you either let it hit
Well,
you
you
in the
don't
face.
catch it apparently. You let it drop.
Oh, it's the
Wrong analogy, mate.
I was a glasses wearer in school just to add to the shame of, you know. And I bet
they were a big frame back then.
Oh, they were NHS gorgeous fucking eyesores. And then guaranteed, if I'd go anywhere near a playground, football would hit me in the head. And then the glasses would end up diagonally across, and I'd be like, that'd be dazed for a second, and then you get the last.
Because
like,
you love balls.
Why? Well, different type. But why would the fucking football hit me in the face?
Yeah,
because I wore glasses.
You're a magnet.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
I'll be honest with you. They probably were aiming for you. Because I was that guy in school.
Look at that!
It's like, you know, when you
look at that geek over there.
At the end of like the break, lunchtime break, we had like a football cage at our place. But everyone would be walking to class and it'd be like, right, you hold back just 5 minutes, and then you'd fucking ping this football because you knew there's 50 students there. You're gonna hit someone. Like horrible behaviour.
Like dodgeball.
But but they don't know they're playing.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're now entering Thunderdome.
I laugh because it's it's embarrassing, but it was horrible what we did.
The analogy was like if somebody throws me a ball now, I'd catch it. I'm like, I know what that is, so I put it down. I don't have to then continuously enter this game where I'm like flip flopping. And my biggest change, I think now, or what I cultivate the most, is I've made a choice to cultivate, and it's going to sound a little bit hippie, I suppose, but to cultivate inner peace and prioritize that over everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, you literally mentioned it before we started recording today. You said you are...
And that ain't easy.
No, I mean, self-development is fucking hard anyway.
It's not easy.
But you can focus on certain, like, you know, if you were to break down your life into areas, that's almost what you're doing. You're going, right, you know that certain areas are at a level that you're happy with, but maybe that inner piece you want to work a little bit harder on. So that's what you're focusing on right now. Yeah?
Absolutely. And I don't want to give away my inner peace so easily just because other people say things.
Yeah.
That's not, I want to be as non-reactionary as possible. And it doesn't mean I don't feel things, but I think there's a misconception is that you are allowed to feel your feelings, but it doesn't mean you have to act on them.
Yeah.
We're allowed to feel whatever we feel.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the word allowed is, as long as you're the only person that you think is responsible for saying what you can and can't do. Like someone else could, you're not allowed to feel like that.
Yeah,
like,
you are.
Of course you are, yeah.
And we can't help them. Going back to, do we choose? I don't know if that was the last episode or this one because we recorded back to back. But whether we choose the thoughts and the feelings.
Yeah, that was the last episode. Yeah.
Sorry.
Unless this one comes out first, and then it's the next episode.
Not to confuse you, dear listeners, but do go to the other episode.
Yeah.
But it's the same sort of thing. We can't choose necessarily how we react. Some emotions come in the body. They happen from the body. Like that's why I feel anger in my belly.
Yeah.
Because the fire's being
too many pepper armies.
That's got nothing to do with it, Sam. But but I don't then have to act on it. I can allow it to come into my
not acting is a reaction.
Yes, it's a choice.
Yeah,
I've chosen not to react.
And I think that's what people don't understand is that not reacting.
It's like a reaction denial.
Yes,
I'm saying I know you're there.
Yeah,
but I'm not letting that destroy this.
Yeah,
because if I do let that and choose to go down that road in an unhealthy way, I will end up having to take full responsibility for how much of my part could cause chaos.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that anymore. And so we can only take responsibility for our bits. But having my shit together now feels like I take full responsibility. And in the moment, if I make a choice where I let some of my learned behaviour out, I go back so much quicker and apologise. Almost within seconds.
Yeah.
Whereas before it'd take days, years even.
I bet you used the whole.
I would
grudge
block people, but then unblock them as a passive aggressive move. Send them a message and then block them again.
Yeah,
which is so.
Mate, we're so similar.
Like in shame. I have forgiven myself for all of that. But yeah, if I say something now that I feel was not an accurate representation of what I truly feel, I will go back almost instantly and say, sorry, that's not what I meant. That was a learned behaviour part of me speaking. This is what I actually want to say. And I don't get it right all the time.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well,
sometimes I stick my nose
You are human, so
exactly.
you're not going to.
But I
But
befriended
it's
those
the
parts.
it's the
now.
ability to recognise that,
Yeah.
you know, there's been a certain situation recently that I haven't handled fucking well at all, and I've said something and then I've gone, hang on, I didn't mean it like that, or it's been interpreted like I think giving someone the ability to interpret something in a different way, just be clear and concise.
Yes.
But yeah, I think having the ability to go, oh, bang, like you say, caught it, fuck, no, let me rectify it straight away rather than leaving it for God knows how long.
And so much now I'm realizing is about,
which is very
and
hard.
if people aren't watching, I'm buttoning my
You
lips.
almost do it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not, because all things will pass.
This too shall pass.
You shall not pass. I'm very much role modelling a Gandalf beard today.
Yeah,
but
very grey.
Zip the lip. You got one of these and two of these.
Yeah.
One mouth, two ears.
We said that in the last episode.
I don't, not the last one, but I have said it before.
Yeah.
But yeah, and now I'm learning to go, that's where my power lies. My power lies I choose whether or not it's a share, or if I'm letting a judgment out, or if I'm telling someone what to do, or if I'm sticking my nose in, if I'm trying to fix, if I'm trying to take over, which, by the way, another side of the anxious attachment, I like to control things. I like to be the caregiver. Come here, let me deal with it. I'm even up until like current day, I'm still letting go of some of those behaviours.
Yeah, but it's a constant. And do you know what? We've got as far into this podcast as we have, nearly an hour, and we haven't used this word, but it's a constant journey.
Yes.
Of
still
developing and
stopping off at various points, going, "Oh, it's a nice view."
Yeah, but you have
a cloud over there.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, you need aspirations, you need goals, but you need to enjoy this, because this is the best bit. Like, you'll look back when you get to whatever like goal and if you're so hell bent on, like, you got your they're blinkers, isn't it? You got your blinkers on. You go, you're missing what's here. Like, this is
I don't want to miss it.
Yeah, exactly.
And my most recent ex-partner, who I still live with because we're staying friends, which is something I'm proud of. Yeah. Most of my ex-partners, through different circumstances, we have remained in contact. Sometimes we've lost contact and then connected again. Not all, but most of my exes are people I would say that we've forgiven and moved on. And I am in the same position now. But I'm still noticing that, like, if I want to be happy, I cannot keep repeating old patterns and expect something different.
But it's like it's a very well known quote, and it's like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome.
Yeah,
like if you're not, like, there is no change without change. It's the same thing,
and I'm choosing that change willingly, consciously, and I'm sort of buckling up and going, right, bring it on.
Yeah,
because actually I want to be the best version of myself I can be, but it's not coming from a perfectionistic place. It's coming from a genuine, sincere belief that we can all do better in terms of how we think and feel about ourselves, how we treat others.
Do you think that phrase "better" has to be not what they think's better? No, it's what you think's better.
I think if we're honest with ourselves, we know what we know the version of ourselves we could be.
Yeah.
If we put down all of the fluff and the masks and the defenses and the anger, there's a part of us, I believe, inside that knows how to be kind, compassionate, loving, quieter, supportive, etc.
Yeah, an exercise that I found, and I haven't done as much as I probably could have in certain situations. This is how, like, I know I've not lost myself, but I've come off track a little bit. But it's what would the version of Sam that you're trying to become do?
Yeah,
you know, like what how would they act in a situation? Yeah. Because if you're not going to react, if you're not going to act like that version of the person that you believe you want to be, then you're never going to be that person. Mm-hmm. You know, there's the whole, like, you know, become the version of yourself and do those things, but especially in terms of an emotional thing. And okay, how would the Sam that I want to be react to this? And if you don't do it, you're never gonna get there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's, I guess, what I'm trying to employ and role model to myself first. Yeah. And it's kind of irrelevant. It's not really about anyone else. And it's in a healthy, selfish way. It's not about anyone else.
No, it isn't.
If we all emanated calmness, kindness, compassion, courage, curiosity, creativity, etc., and we all naturally tapped into those as innate resources, I think we'd all be a lot happier.
And I imagine as a therapist, because we've spoke a lot about you as a human, but as a therapist, that would you would say the exact same thing to your clients.
Absolutely,
it's about you.
Like,
you
with
are
my
here.
clients, I'll role model authenticity again. I sometimes I do delve into analyzing and trying to fix, and I'll be like, yeah, I've got this psychological kind of take, and I'm like, maybe this can help. And it's all offered in the spirit of love, but sometimes I need to say less, which is saying more.
Two of these, one of these.
Exactly. And even now, I'll say to them, I say, I'm so sorry about that. I went off as a complete tangent or monologue. And what I really want to know is how you're feeling about it.
I'm paying you £65 for 50 minutes, mate.
Yeah.
It's not even an hour these days, by the way.
Mine's an hour.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I need to. Well, I can't
However,
actually.
I'm learning more. It's like the wisdom I'm cultivating over the years is that give people the right environment and the tools, even though there's some place for some healthy guidance, some try this perhaps, or try that, or maybe learn about this. Most of it is that we all know how to get there.
Yeah.
But we've got to start finding out more. We've got to be open more to the changes. One of the biggest things for myself now is that if I do not meditate and tend to my own inner peace, no one else is going to. And then I'm just like a loose cannon.
I mean, it's a very, very vague, but it's a quote that's no one's coming to fucking save you.
No.
Like,
and I wanted them
ask for help. But and I think there's a big misconception that no one's coming to save you, but that doesn't mean that you can't go to therapy. That's asking for help. That is you making a choice. Okay, no one's coming to save me, so how can I save myself? Well, I don't know how to do this, so I'm going to go learn how to do it.
Absolutely. So, yeah. I hope all of that has kind of made some sort of sense.
Yeah, like this episode is human first and therapist second, and we've.
But they kind of there is of course an innate or sort of.
But if you weren't the human that you are,
yeah,
you wouldn't be the therapist that you are.
No,
and that's it. And
because I allow myself to be me in the room.
I think. Well, that's the authenticity, right? We spoke on the last one, or the next one, however it gets edited. But
on another
being who I am, being who you are, makes us the coach or the therapist that we are, and that is
because if I stopped being a therapist, then does all of this wonderful wisdom and life experience I've cultivated just cease to be anything because I'm not guiding other people?
Yeah.
No, I don't want my self-worth to be defined by what I do for a job.
However, do you get a lot of self-worth coming from helping people?
I would lie if I said, of course, there isn't a feeling that's nice when you have.
There's no better feeling.
But to get that in terms of a payoff for a job is probably one of the least harmful of the side effects you could get.
Yeah,
I think God, I hope I've made a difference today.
Yeah,
but then when clients say, "Oh, you've really helped me," I say, "We."
Yeah,
and some of them really refute that, and they're like, "No, you," and I'm like, "We,"
because what you just said previously.
If you didn't show up and do what we're talking about, and go away and at least think about it, you wouldn't have experienced the change. I'm not then channeling the change at you; you're bringing the change.
Yeah,
but we've just sat and talked about it in a way that allows that to emerge.
Yeah,
that my clients and I and you, we are all responsible for our own change.
Absolutely, yeah. You just the people you might need to find someone to help you get to that stage where you realize you are in control and you are in power of your own life.
And therapists and coaches, before we finish, therapists and coaches, if they're ethical, I would say that they will not assume that they're never going to need to learn something. They won't stop learning. They won't stop reflecting. They won't stop going and thinking, "Oh, how did I relate to that person? Did I handle that very well? Could I have listened a bit more or said a bit less or whatever?" And I'll always reflect on what I'm saying, how I'm saying it. I'll talk to my supervisor about it. I think about, is this helping someone? And I'll never stop learning, being curious, doing the reading and the research. I'll never stop. And a good therapist or a good coach knows, I think, to invest in that it's never over either for the profession that you're in. So any sort of in role modeling human first, I do still make mistakes. Sometimes I won't say things in the client room that's the best. I might be clunky or over wordy, or sometimes I might even inadvertently offend or whatever. But I always try and own it.
Yeah.
And then I'll be the one to go, I'll bring it back. And sometimes I bring it back in the next session. And then, oh, I didn't notice. Whereas I'd gone, oh, don't think that landed very well. But
Yeah.
it's the spirit.
I've had that conversation with, not with I haven't got a therapist now. I'm going to start again. But she said, oh, last time I said this and you didn't seem to react. And I was like, oh, I thought, but then obviously you guys study body language and stuff like that. So it was almost like
not in a creepy way.
No, almost like and if the truth be told, one of the reasons why I stopped therapy last time was because she said a certain thing that I didn't agree with. And I think since that moment, I kind of was like almost without, and I lost respect because I respected the hell out of her for what she was doing. And she said one thing that I didn't agree with, and I very strongly disagreed with it. And I was like, done, see you later. But yeah.
Yeah, keep that in mind when you embark on your next therapy, because I think that's exactly.
But I've learned from it now, and hindsight, I should.
Human first, she made a mistake.
Yep.
And then that had the power in that moment in your life to change or to actually stop the relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you could say that about many different types of relationships. How often do we hear things from people like, I don't agree with that?
Yeah.
My new analogy that I'm really trying to role model, and I'll finish on this, is to be emotionally flexible, like flex your feelings. But I heard on a
that wasn't like
no, that was
rehearsed.
In the moment.
That's out.
The analogy of a palm tree.
Okay.
They are strong, right?
Yep.
And whenever there are huge hurricane winds, they will bend a lot to the point where they could pretty much almost be touching the ground. But then when the strong winds have settled, they're back up again. But they don't break.
Yeah.
And even though you might be
go to yoga.
Something they do, but the point is, I want to be able to go with whatever's happening in my life without breaking.
Yeah.
And that to me is maintaining a sense of inner calm, groundedness, choosing when I shut up, showing up for myself, checking in with the parts of myself, being kind to myself, and whatever's going on in life and however crazy the wind is, I'm not going to break. Because everything changes. Nothing stays the same forever. We're not the same people we were when we were children or teenagers, and we won't continue to be the same people going forward. But can we maintain this sort of firm grounding, and whatever comes your way, you'll flex with it.
Yeah, and ultimately, you doing that work will inevitably make you, one, a better human first, but two, an even better therapist. It's inevitable that work that you do on yourself is going to make you
so it's a win-win,
and then you can help even further people.
Yeah,
mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. You being very vulnerable.
Listening.
Oh, mate, I think this is the least that I've ever spoken.
Really have a choice.
Oh yeah, but
you're a captive audience.
Yeah, I thank you so much for being vulnerable and showing us the human side. Not that you don't anyway, but we focused on the human side rather than the therapist side, and I've got a greater insight into why you are the way you are and why you are such a good therapist, but why you're such a good person to do this with. So thank you very much for that, mate. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And I hope that it's helped, or it will help some people.
Yeah, undoubtedly it will.
And I like what we're doing here. We're role modelling that we are human. We're not perfect.
Yeah. No one's got their shit together.
No one has their shit together all of the time.
Yeah.
And so keep that in mind when life keeps throwing you these events.
These rugby balls.
Yeah, just drop the ball.
Just drop it.
Do what I do.
Yeah.
Do not under any circumstances let your kit get muddy.
Mate, it's been an absolute pleasure today.
As always. Thank you
very much. Take it easy.
Bye for now.